Welcome to the Dance to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how life is a dance. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that mind and body-connected movement is vital to healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I created Dance to Heal Wellness featuring the Spotlight Confidence Formula and also authored the best-selling award-winning book, Outside In Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new ways to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. Will you just explain a little bit more about the Bartenieff
Yeah. Yeah.
theory?
I'll
or
explain.
their
I'll
school?
explain both. So Laban was a Austro-Hungarian choreographer, philosopher, and he wanted to make a notation system, like music notation for dance. He did that. That's called Laban notation. That's not what I teach. In order to make that notation system, he analyzed the human body for meaning. So, what body part is doing what action, in what direction, with what quality, and what do I think for what purpose do I imagine based on what I'm seeing? And so it's this incredibly deep, rich way to observe human beings for meaning. It got used for all different kinds of fields, including nonverbal communication, came in large part out of this practice. Um, and so it gets used like in the CIA. But it really took a foothold in theater and dance. Irmgard Bartenieff was one of his big students and contributors of his work, and she really systematized it in a way that nobody else had done. She moved to America during World War II, and she became a physical therapist, and she was helping kids recover from polio, which unfortunately we're about to have to do again. No. Um, and she was like trying to get children back on their feet and like, how do we learn to walk again? And to do that, she really investigated developmental patterns. What happens when a baby is first out of mom? And then what is the next milestone? Not like the actual thing of rolling over, but like in their body, what are they starting to do? This reaching out starts to become this differentiation of the spine, and that head tail connectivity starts to become this homologous pattern where they can start to generate forward back movement, and then they need to free an arm to be able to crawl. And so these different patterns she started observing over and over again in babies. And then when you look with a broader lens, you see that's also the development of species. That's also gestational development. So like, oh, there's something in here, something really deep, like species level deep. She started looking at these patterns that babies go through of yield and push or reach and pull, and these different reflexes, equilibrium responses that the body has. And then when we get injured, or we're sick or we're disrupted, nature or nurture, babies who are not picked up, don't develop the same way. Or, if we've had a mobility issue, an ability issue, an illness, we've had interventions, surgeries, etc. All of that is going to disrupt these things. So she worked with both recovering and, you might say able-bodied people, children, and then later dancer adults on repatterning and reorganizing towards their body's efficiency. So her philosophy is like, the body you're in, that is your body. There's no more ideal body. There's no goal for your body. However, how's your body feeling? Is it feeling good? Is it easy? Is it healthy? Does it have flow? No? Okay, let's look at what's stopping that for you, not for some idealized body. And let's see if we can repattern something or redirect something to feel a little better for you. So it is starting with you where you're at, with no like high watermark, no destination, no aesthetic. No, your leg should ideally be here. If it's not, let's get it there. That's not the philosophy. It's like the same thing I was talking about before, like what what's the gap between what you would like to have happen and where you're at right now. And you get to decide what you would like to have happen. And then you can feel into the gap, and Bartenieff helps you navigate the gap. It is biomechanical efficiency, like what body part wants to move, how does each joint want to move, what's the conversation like among your body parts, how's your breath working to support that, how are your bones and your muscles and your fascia and your sense of gravity and equilibrium and organs all working together to create the best feeling life that you can have.
Just you don't need to stop talking. I was just getting so much into how you just weave everything in. I mean, when you were just discussing the theory behind it, it brings to mind. I know there are different application methodology, but it overlaps for me with Delsart.
Mhm.
And I think that just it's amazing how the better we understand how our bodies are working and how we understand how our bodies are working, the better we are to communicate, outwardly in any type of format. And I'm really glad you told us about your book because I'm so excited. We'll have to bring you back after it's launched because this will be part of your launch for the book and then afterwards. How has your relationship with making art changed over the years, Alexandra?
Yeah, it has changed a lot. I think there used to be a lot more vanity and neediness in it. Like I needed something from the audience to fix something in me, or I needed them to see something in me so that I could feel worthy or validated or whole or something. And I think a lot of that has dissipated with age. And I think now, in a certain way, and this probably sounds odd at first, but I think I'm trying to have the audience feel seen when they watch my work. And what I mean by that is I feel like we all have a kind of existential something, aloneness, that no matter how intimately somebody else knows us and we know somebody, like they can never know what it feels like to be us. And I'm very close to a lot of people, but I have no idea when we watch something, if they see the same color, how pain feels to them, what movement feels like to them. I can guess and I can feel myself. And I have the same sense of like, nobody will ever know me as I feel myself. But I do think sometimes if we can really accurately craft an image or an event on stage that feels like it really expresses what it feels like to be that character, that human, that body, and somebody in the audience watching with their mirror neurons all lit up as an animal, watching other animals, and recognizing what that person is living through and recognize it at a bodily level, I think they feel seen. And I think there's something so healing in feeling like, oh, I'm not alone. Like other people feel like this in their life. And I would like to be able to um, increase that feeling of like we're together in this, regardless of, identifiers, race and gender and class and privileges and etc. Like we are together in this. Like we have I, one finite life in this on this planet, this rock that's spinning around a ball of fire. Like we're together. This is it.
I love that because when we really pull away from the microcosm of our lives, we're actually one part of one giant orgasm organism.
I mean, there's a case to be made for it, Jenny.
Exactly.
Um, Yeah, it's such a sad part of living through, I was going to say this moment, but if I go back in history, I'm like, I'm not sure what moment was without, all of this friction between people, but it's one of the sad parts of living through this moment in history, which is like, hey, everybody, like we have one life on this one planet that we're also like not treating very well, and we're spending it fighting with each other about things that more often than not don't affect us. because we're scared and we don't feel together and we don't feel known or seen. And like, if we could just do a better job with our own healing and then parenting from a healed place or at least a conscious place,
Mhm.
and then, allowing our kids to have a little more freedom to discover themselves, and be truthful, I think we actually could like live together a little bit more.
I agree. And we are based in the US, which is relatively young compared to other
Mhm.
countries, and we're going through huge growth spurts and growing
Yeah.
pains. That's what I think of it
Yeah.
as. And I do love you sharing that your goal is to help people, at least one person in the audience, feel less alone. I mean, that's been a huge platform that I've been doing for, I would say, literally years since my breast cancer in 2014. I had such a clarity of download during that time
Mhm.
that because the chemotherapy was killing my body, trying to kill the tumors before it killed me, right?
Yeah.
Not me. I'm not gonna sugarcoat
Yeah.
that. That's just really what
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And I started understanding that it was really important to be a very clear conduit. Now, I've actually had a recent mentor say to me, "Well, if you say you're a conduit, don't you put yourself to more importance than the actual process?" And I'm like, "Well, in dance, we need to be the conduit because it's people aren't being forced to come to a show. They're
Mhm.
voluntarily coming to a show to receive a message from you. And I was open to the message to be given through me because that's what performance is. There's some overlying thing that has to be conveyed, and the audience comes to receive it, and you alchemize the energy between you, and something's produced, right? And I just love the way you were phrasing that because I think in everyday contexts, we are conduits, even in family relationships and
Mhm.
friendships, like off of the stage setting.
And I actually might respectfully disagree with that idea of hierarchy because I think of a conduit and in the sense of the physics of it as a very humble role. Like, I'm not directing you, I'm not telling you where to go, I'm not pushing you, I'm not on one end of you giving you force. I'm I'm creating a pathway for you to get somewhere. You are really directing yourself. And I am serving as you know, whatever you want to call it, an elemental, pathway for you to get from there to there.
Yeah, I love that. And to be clear, separating. So I'm just going to speak just to artists who do public performances, whether it's art you make through drawing or online, or you're performing verbally or physically, right? Not everyone does it because not everyone gets that call.
Sure.
Right? It's like, we're going to be very, like, recently I've been redirected towards this message of like flying my own plane, Alexandra.
Mhm.
And I'm being very obedient. Like, I'm told I am a conduit. I'm not making that up to self important myself. It's just like when I'm not obedient to that reminder to be a conduit, and part of that is to do a very, very explicit self care routine to keep
Mhm.
myself very anchored,
Mhm.
right? Because I could easily go off into delusions of grandeur as a performer, because we
Right.
all tend to do that.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm very clear in being open to what I'm supposed to convey, or
Mhm.
at least react to the moment. Because I don't know about you, but I've noticed that I could come up with some really planned out performance. Once I get in front of the live audience, there's always some pushback where I'm supposed to go somewhere from what I thought I needed to go. I'll
Yeah.
be doing something else that I didn't plan.
Yeah.
And it's not because I forgot my choreography. It's not because I wasn't prepared for the performance.
Mhm.
It's because, oh, no, I'm getting a download. Someone needs something else than what you prepared.
Yeah. And, I would suspect it's because you're doing a good job of listening and being truly present. And yeah, as I said just now, I feel like it's quite a humble role to be there and say, yes, me, yes, I'm here. But mostly I'm here to allow you to emerge and go somewhere. And, if you think about like what a conduit is, like a conduit for electricity or a conduit for water, it's just the ability to get something that wants to move somewhere to go where it wants to go. You know, I'm allowing you to pass through this. And so I think you used the word porous and brave before. I think it's quite a porous and brave role to be a conduit, but also humble.
Well, I think that for anyone who's listening in my audience, they're the way you just explain it, it just makes so much sense. And so, how would you suggest someone who's not really ever considered themselves an artist? How would they begin, Alexandra? If they think they want to be an artist, or they might have a medium that they're very comfortable in, or they don't have any idea. I'm sorry, I'm giving you so many layers, but I think how would you have them start to explore an identity as an artist?
I think I might swap out the word identity for experience, because I do think that sometimes that idea of identity gets in the way. Like, oh, well, an artist would do this, or a writer would do that, or a painter should do this. And I think sometimes those identity ideas can be suffocating, because they don't line up with us, what we actually are or feel. So I would say, um, listening for pleasure. What I was talking about before, like when is like work pleasurable, effort, labor, rigor, vigor? When is it delicious? When is it pleasurable? When is rest or sensuality or things that like nourish us and give back, that we ingest, not just food, but touch, sunlight, nature, etc. When are those feeling delicious? What's the balance between them? So that we're starting to get a sense of like, what do you want? Where's your desire? And then when you start to like feel into that like desire, and I can feel sometimes the desire for rigor, like I want something to make me work. I want to work a little bit. Or like I need rest. I need beauty. I need etc. So I'm starting to get like lit up around that and feel really authentic about that. And then in the same space of sensing, feeling, intuiting, looking at this medium and being like, what's a way in that lives inside what I'm feeling right now in terms of desire? So if this is visual art and I want to start drawing more, um, what's a way in that feels like it lives with my nervous system, holds hands with my nervous system? So if you're somebody who's like, my nervous system really likes structure. I want to like get a program or a course. I want to get my materials. I want to set up. I want to make a space in my house. I want to, everything. And every day at a certain time, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to draw for 15 minutes with this one book or this program. That's what makes me feel stable and safe. Great. That works with that person's nervous system. Or maybe most days it does. Somebody else, that would be the nightmare. They're like, it's just shoulds, it's just programming. It feels like another thing on their to-do list, and then another place to invite shame. So for them, it's like, I'm gonna leave different empty books or art supplies around the house, and suddenly I'm just gonna like, oh, if I feel like, or oh, when after I take a bath, or I'm gonna do a little drawing. And so I think the first thing is knowing when is it gonna be, what form, like more structure or more spontaneous, intuitive? Like, I think that's a first question to ask. And for that, you already need to get to know yourself. Then what do you need? Do you need a course? Do you need supplies? Like, make it easy. Reduce the number of levers you have to pull to make it happen. Because if I'm like, yeah, I want to be drawing, but I don't have, yeah, my art supplies are not great and they're upstairs in the attic, and it's like, make it as easy as possible so that when you have that little bit of desire, what you need is right there. And then like tune in, notice the effect of, yeah, I drew for 15 minutes in the backyard today and I like felt really good. Oh, I might want to do it again. Or, like, is there something I could tie it to? Like, I actually want to make a set of postcards for my niece for her birthday because I know she goes away to camp and she loves to send postcards. And I want to draw her some postcards. I think that would feel really good. So sometimes, like, bringing somebody else into the process as an inspiration or an outcome or a service can be a way to like get out of our head that it has to be some genius thing that we're coming up with, or it has to be for some big fancy performance or expression. It's just, you don't need to write a novel, you don't need to choreograph an evening length work. It could just be like something that came out of you and nobody has to see it, or one person could see it and it's still art.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I have a confession,
Yeah.
and I want the audience to know this. I love to draw until I'm actually doing it. Because I remember when I was in undergraduate school, I took some semesters because they have prerequisites before you can graduate, and I took a couple of semesters of art, and some of them were pencil drawings, and some of them were like oil color, oil painting, and like landscaping stuff. And I remember enjoying those. And then during the pandemic, I had seen some of those courses where they'll let you buy a whole library of pre-recorded courses.
Mhm.
And I bought them, and then they would give you a list of supplies, but none of them actually matched what you could buy. So then I made myself crazy with the shade of the color. It had to look exactly like the video. So instead of enjoying, I stressed myself out the first part of the course until I started to decide to myself, all right, listen, Jenny, this is me. I wish I had had this interview with you before the course. Because for me, it became less about the process and it became about the product.
Yeah.
And I just laugh about it now because since then, when I let go of the perfection of it matching, I
Mhm.
started to enjoy the process. And I would take liberties that would actually make it look better.
Yeah.
I
And I
love
think,
that.
also one thing that I think I hear in that is part of that first part of like knowing yourself, like, do you want more structure? Do you want more spontaneity, etc.? Do you need anything that you don't have? Is also this sense of like, do I do I want to push myself, or like to what end do I want this art? Is the art itself a should, or is it like I used to love this and I want to love something again? And I think this could be a thing I would love. So in what way does it need to come into your life, and in what way might it become reliable for you? So sometimes it does require a little bit of a push, like, okay, I'm going to try to get myself into a little habit. People do this with morning pages. Every morning I'm going to write 3 pages without stopping, or meditation, or et cetera, right? And it does take a little bit of effort to get into habit. And sometimes it can be a little bit of a hiccup to try to get there. But then the question is like, am I forcing myself to do it? Is it bringing me joy? If not, how might it bring me joy, or will it just not bring me joy? And yeah,
Was it morning pages? My God, I did that for 2 years, and it went from, oh, I'm just going to scribble even the same word over and over
yeah,
for 15 minutes to me dragging it out to a 3 hour ordeal because I had to fill my 3 pages, but
right.
I just didn't want to sit still anymore. And it was really funny to me in retrospect. Nowadays, I have a mantra that I copy every morning as part of my journaling. And then that's it. That's all I write. And then I move on. I do other
Right.
things that are part of it, right? It's just so funny when you learn to listen to yourself more about what's for you versus what's not for you at this time.
Yeah, and it's part of that letting go. You asked me what I had learned or from menopause, and I was talking about like learning to let go of obedience to and adherence to systems, and valuing the way things are done when intellectually I often disagree with them heartily, but somewhere in me I still have this residue of like, oh, but that's the way you do that. You have to do it this way. And so I do think that there's some mix, and you have to know this about yourself. Like, am I an over pusher? And I need this to be really spontaneous, joyful. I'm just going to leave art supplies around the house in little baskets. And if I pass by one and I have 5 minutes and I feel like it, I'm going to pick up a little card I got and I'm just going to draw on it. And then you can burn it, you can throw it away, you can leave it in a stack, you can put it on your wall and send it to somebody. It doesn't need to be anything, right? That's the way I want to do it. And for somebody else, that regularity is going to feel like safe and stabilizing and feel really good. And like, well, today doesn't have to be good because I know I have every day this week, right? And so I think the first part is knowing yourself, respecting, accepting yourself, listening to yourself, and then making decisions based on that. And I'll just say, I'm not propping up anybody for any profit, but I bought my 19-year-old who's a game designer. I bought him this book called This Is Not a Sketchbook. And it's got little QR codes on every page that lead to a little exercise. And it's about like this one's about perspective and this one's about shading and it just like gives you these little bits, but it still lets you be yourself. And I think it looks like a really nice, he's been enjoying it. And the woman who created it is like a mom and just running her own business. So like a nice, feels like a nice exchange. So that might be something that would be less constricting than that course for you.
Well, yeah, for me, it's been just this understanding of, the right season for the right things.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, what work it's like what we answered before about habits, and when it doesn't serve you anymore, to move on to the next thing. Because I really liked the course once I gave up on the perfection of it.
Mhm.
However, because it was always, what is it, water-based paints,
Mhm.
the cleanup just horrified me. Like, I
Right.
just can't. There's so many colors mixed together, and the paintbrushes, if you don't clean them off, they turn
Mhm.
crazy, right? And all this stuff. So for me, is more what time do I have? And audience members, as you listen to our conversation, which I actually have to bring to a close soon because we've now made this into a two-part at least interview. And we're gonna have to have you back, Alexandra, because I feel like we just hit the tip of the iceberg. There's much more to talk about now that we've kind of hit cursory points about the relevance of why we're talking about this. My community, remember, you have permission to add, subtract, discard things that don't serve you or
Yeah.
do serve you now. That's the permission we're giving you. That's
Yeah.
why I have someone like Alexandra on this podcast. We need reminders. We don't know what we don't know.
And one thing that I hear you talking about when you're like, oh, the watercolor, and it was so when I was talking about levers, it's not just the setting up, it's like, okay, I want to be doing this. Why am I not doing this? When I'm imagining the flow, what's the point where I get stuck is a really good question. And it's like, yeah, it's because I don't have space booked or I don't have supplies or it's the wrong medium. I'm never going to want to clean up after it. So I'm not going to want to do it. Okay, why don't we switch to pencils
Yeah.
or pastels or something? Um, or, there's just not space. Okay, well, why don't you repurpose that desk that your kid never uses or, whatever it is. So like I like to think through my flow and in my imagination when I'm like, yeah, that's the sticky spot. I'm like, okay, well, how could I pull that lever and get that one open?
Exactly. I love that. And then just to remind us ourselves of how this conversation started around movement. Daily movement's important. You define what that is, whether it's a walk or a quick dance after the shower when you're naked and you happen to have your favorite playlist playing. Anything that keeps you moving in a safe way is really recommended for you.
Yeah.
Alexandra, thank you so much for coming. Audience members, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Dance to Heal podcast with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of inspiring triumph and learn more ways that you can heal yourself. To work with me and continue your journey, visit danceandheal.com. Are you ready to move?